Joining me now is a UFC lightweight fighter who takes on Kajan Johnson at UFC Fight Night 127 in London, England on March 17th. It is Stephen Braveheart Ray here on the program for the very first time. Stevie, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you very much for asking, and really appreciate you taking the time today. I know it's getting late there over where you are. I think it's 10:30 on the dot right now, right?
Yeah, that's it, man. I'm just chilling. Uh, yeah, I'm just chilling anyway, not up to much, so it's all good, man.
Fair enough. Thanks again. So let's dive right in and talk about what this past half year or so, ever since your fight against Paul Felder back in July of last year, what has this been like for you, the past half year? Can you even put it into words?
Just a nightmare. um, yeah, it's just been a complete nightmare. I was at my kind of lowest point at one stage, and yeah, it was just rubbish, not knowing what was happening with my life. Not knowing if I'm still in the UFC or if I need to start looking at a different career or yeah, it was really rubbish. But obviously now things are a lot better.
Was this past year without fighting? Because everybody, no fighter wants to go 6 months without fighting or anything like that. Has not fighting since July made your life difficult financially, or do you have other means of making a living?
Well, yeah, it did to start with, but it kind of made me start looking into doing something else because I was getting to the point where I was kind of running out of money. So I started running my own club, Braveheart MMA, and yeah, I've been really enjoying it. Coaching while I've had the time off, I've still been making sure I'm training as well. I was doing all my training during the day, and then doing most of my coaching at night time. And I've built up a pretty good little team. Yeah, and it's really taken off. So now I'm still keeping that going. And I'm just getting classes covered. Like I said, I've got a great bunch of guys. So, like tonight, I was through training at my place, sparring at higher level MMA, and Braveheart MMA was still on. Some of the guys covered the class, and yeah, it's just much better having something else. I feel as well because when I was fighting full time, as in just fighting and nothing else. Sometimes, like, that sounds good, just training and doing nothing but training, but I don't like just training during the day and then having, like, nothing to do the whole day until night time. Sometimes it was a bit, boring or sitting in the house. You think too much.
But it's also a bigger risk, is it not? Because fighters, let's be honest, you guys aren't making the most money.
Yeah, that's it. So now that I've got this kind of little club on the go as well, I'm making money every week, every month. That is now covering my bills because it's taken off so well. So yeah, it just takes a big, huge. Even though when I fight, I've got a pretty good contract, and I would say I'm getting paid good money for fighting. But obviously, there's always the scare, like, you only get paid when you fight. So even right now, I'm expecting to get a pretty good payday in 3 weeks' time. But you never know what can happen. I might get injured. I might break my leg. I might break my hand. Kajan might get injured. Literally anything can happen. I can fall ill. He can fall ill. And if it happens a few weeks before the fight, then I'm pretty sure you don't get compensated. Like, you didn't get paid. So, yeah, there's always a big risk factor involved when it comes to being a fighter. So at least if I've got this club on the go, it's just, I'm really enjoying it. And yeah, it takes that financial stress off.
And for anybody that doesn't know exactly what your situation has been these past half year or so, you fought out your contract when you fought Paul Felder at UFC Fight Night back in last July, and so you were a free agent after that fight. Unfortunately, you came up short, so your leverage wasn't as high as you expected. You took some advice from your former management, which you're no longer with, and that's basically been your sort of past 6 months just trying to get re-signed. Did you ever get to a point where you just figured, okay, this isn't happening? I mean, it's been so long already. There's no way they're going to re-sign me. Did you get to a point where you were pretty confident they weren't going to re-sign you?
Yeah, like I had ups and downs all the time. I started thinking, yeah, I'm going to be on the London card. Then I had some days when I'm like, I'm not getting signed. And that's my career over with the UFC. Yeah, just really up and down. I tried to stay positive, but like you said, it had been so long. And then, it was becoming to the point where I was going to have to go elsewhere because I wasn't actually sure if I wanted to fight again if it wasn't in the UFC. If I would maybe just go down the route of coaching full-time or doing something like that. But then I got an offer from ACB and I was pretty much ready to take that if I didn't hear anything soon from the UFC. But my new manager, Ali Abdelaziz, he was always positive and keeping me feeling good. And just saying that he was really thinking the UFC were going to offer me something soon. And then, it just so happens that obviously there was an injury and I got a bit of luck, I suppose.
Just for a time frame sake, how much time was between when you got that ACP offer and when you re-signed with the UFC just recently?
Maybe a few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, if that. Because like ACB offered me a fight in November. That was like October. They said, we can get you out in a few weeks' time in November. But at that point, I was like, no, I'm still with the UFC. I didn't quite realise that back then that there was the potential that I was never getting re-signed. And then, obviously, over Christmas and stuff, I started to think, I'm not sure if I'm actually getting another chance. I didn't realise at the time, fighting out my contract, what that meant. I thought that, I was just kind of risking a little bit of money, like the difference in the contract. Then obviously after Christmas and stuff, the ACB came back and they're like, have you heard anything yet? And it was becoming to the point where I started to get a bit, I can't wait much longer. The money's going to, bills are coming out every month, nothing's going in the bank. I need to do something. I can't keep holding on to this. Then ACB offered me a 6-fight deal, pretty good contract. And then, the UFC came back and obviously it helped that my new manager, Ali, it was one of his fighters that got injured. So when he went to Sean and obviously broke the news that Rustam was injured, he was able to almost fix the problem before it was even out in the media. So a bit of luck and all good.
So going into the Paul Felder fight, you didn't think you were at risk of not getting re-signed if you had lost to Felder, which ended up happening. When did you realize that it was sort of up in the air and you weren't really sure whether you get re-signed? Because going in, you thought it was sort of a no-brainer. You didn't even really consider, hey, there's a chance I don't get another contract. When did you realize that your career might be up in limbo?
Maybe a few months after the loss, because like I said, I thought, and that's what I didn't really understand when all the media was making a big deal of me fighting out my contract, because I just thought, it was obviously bad advice from my old management. My old management just said, they obviously told Sean what we were wanting money-wise, contract-wise, and Sean said, my management just told me that initially he said that the UFC weren't even offering me a contract. They were allowing me to fight out my contract. Then he came and said that they did offer something. But yeah, so my management said to me, look, we've asked for a certain amount, and Sean's reply was, go beat Felder, and then we can talk about that. So I just had in my head that, okay, Mama, if I go and beat Felder, I get the money that we've asked for. If I lose to Felder, then I get a contract, but it's just not the one I asked for. I'll maybe get a little bit less than the one that they've offered, because they offered a pretty good contract in the first place, but it was my management that just said, no, we're worth more. So I just obviously took his advice and went with that, and then to realise a little while down the line that, I might not be ever getting signed, and I've maybe just lost my UFC career. So, and I maybe would have been lost if I never signed with Ali, or if the injury to Rustam never happened. I suppose we'll never know. I'm just glad that something did come up, and now I've got that 4-fight contract.
And so, considering how long it took to get you another contract in the UFC, was there any sense of surprise? Obviously, I would imagine you were super relieved. Were you at all surprised? Even though I would imagine you fully believe you deserve it, but because it took so long, was there a sense of surprise when you got the call?
Yeah, surprised for the London fight, but Ali did say to me that he had been speaking with Sean, and Sean was saying that they're maybe coming to Dublin later in the year, and he wants you on that card, and Sean has said that he's going to give you a contract, so that made me feel a bit better. But at the same time, I was still, that's only words until I sign the dotted line. That's when I'm safe. So, yeah, when that injury happened, I was like, trying to jump all over it. Trying my hardest with everything. Even before then, I was calling out fighters, letting the UFC and everybody else know I'm willing to fight anybody, anytime. And then it's just such a relief. You know what? Like, I was really depressed about it to start with. Like, I got really down to the kind of dark stages where I didn't want to leave the house or leave my bedroom, or just with a mixture of that and losing the fight and a few other stresses at home, and trying to, even when I first started coaching at my new place, I wasn't sure if I was enjoying it because it was something new, but then after a little while, even before the UFC, I started to get really happy. I got out of that dark place. I was really enjoying coaching. I was doing all my training during the day. I was making pretty good money from the coaching, and I was living a pretty good life, I would say. It could be worse. I could be back to being a labourer, working outside in the rain and stuff. So I was getting to train during the day, do what I love, and then coach at night. And I got that kind of different feeling of coaching. When I'm training and I see myself improving, it feels good. But when you're coaching a new bunch of guys, or even some experienced guys, and you're improving them, you're improving someone else's life, and just to see that feels really good and makes you feel good. So yeah, and then even better, obviously, now that the UFC the contracts came along as well, because now I've got a kind of little business on the go, and I've also got fighting, and I've got a good bunch of guys around me where I'm able to run both and make sure I'm not getting distracted from the coach, and I'm still getting in my great good training, and able to make a bit of money as well, and kind of build my own brand, something for a bit of insurance, a bit of security, just in case, like I said, any injuries ever happened with the UFC, in case I fell ill. And it's something that I'm building towards post-fight career, because fighting isn't going to last forever. it's a short career, whereas coaching, I can coach a lot longer.
Fair enough. Do you feel like you taking the Kajan Johnson fight on short notice for Rustam Habilov? Do you feel like that sort of redeemed yourself with the UFC? Because I would imagine they don't love when fighters test free agency and fight out their contracts. Do you feel like you sort of redeemed yourself in any way?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I've done the UFC a couple of favours before. You know, I took even my debut, I took that on 2 weeks' notice. I lost 32 pounds or something in 2 weeks, and I won in Poland on my debut. I saved the co-main event in Belfast and took the fight against Ross Pearson on 4 weeks' notice. And yeah, obviously I've took this one on pretty short notice as well. But luckily I'd already been sort of on fight camp. I'd been training. I was on fight camp for a fight that wasn't there. So, yeah, I was training just in case an injury popped up for London. And yeah, I mean, I feel like if I go out there and I make a statement as well, if I go out there and I get the win or I get the knockout or a submission or whatever, then I feel like I've really redeemed myself. Because I know the UFC, I'm sure I don't think they really like my opponent, Kajan, because the whole, he's quite vocal when it comes to the UFC. He stood up and said a few things about Reebok at the Athlete Summit, and he's mentioned about EA Sports, how we didn't get any kind of compensation for being in a game, and then trying to go down this whole union thing as well. So I'm not against any of that, I have nothing against that, but I know the UFC obviously won't be liking it. So, yeah, I'm sure if I get past them and get the win, then I'll have redeemed myself. I'll go out and make a statement.
What is your new contract like? Is it worse than your last one? Is it slightly better? Is it sort of the same? How does it compare?
It's the exact same one.
Okay. Were you okay with that, considering you sort of take what you get?
It's the same one that they initially offered. So
okay.
So yeah, the one I declined, which I'm more than happy with, because really they could have came back and said, well, you declined this one, so now you're only getting... And you could pretty tell that I was pretty desperate for the for the UFC, and I wasn't really going to be taking any other... I made it clear that I wanted to be with the UFC, and fighting out my contract wasn't really ever to threaten to sign with anybody else. It was more I just thought that I had to get the money I wanted, I had to just beat Felder. So I was willing to kind of take that risk. But no, Sean said that when I was speaking back and forth with him. He says, look, if we re-sign you, I'm happy to give you the same contract that was initially offered. And yeah, I feel like it's a good contract. And what that means as well, it's a 4-fight contract. It means I'm only 3 fights away from renegotiating a new contract as well. So if I go 3-0 or whatever, if I get some wins in, especially if it's all 3 wins on the new contract, then I'll be in a much better position to then get a even bigger contract. So yeah.
You've said that if you knew exactly what you were getting yourself into, you wouldn't have fought out that contract. Did you have to try to explain that to Sean Shelby at all? Did you try and explain that to convince him, or did you really not have to talk about that with him?
Yeah, I told him that. I told him, look, I never ever thought that, I wasn't trying to be nasty or threaten to go anywhere else. I've made it clear I want to be with the UFC. And it was just a case of my management told me, look, we're going to get the money that we've asked for if you beat Felder. And I assumed that if I didn't beat Felder, that I'm going to get a contract that's just not as good as the one that we've asked for. So that's what I thought the risk was. A little bit less money than what they had initially offered if I lose, and a little bit more money if I win. Because, like I said, if I knew that the reality of it, that I'm potentially not getting another contract, or there's no way I would have risked that. You know, I know Paul Felder's a top fighter. It was always going to be a tough fight. And yeah, anything can happen in the fight game. So even if I was like really confident, that's still a huge risk to take. So I would never have fought out my contract. I would have just agreed with the one that they offered, and and went on with that.
Without Ali Abdelaziz, where would you be right now?
I wouldn't be in the UFC probably. Still be just in my house, coaching, I suppose. I doubt I would have been in the UFC if I never signed with Ali. One, because, like I said, a bit of luck considering it was his fighter that got injured. And two, because he's got a good relationship with Sean, and the UFC's got a lot of fighters. So he told me he'd done the UFC a favour as well, and in return he asked if they would re-sign me. He saved one of the cards by giving one of his fighters to fight Cyborg, and also fixed the Frankie Edgar versus Ortega, I think, on that card as well. So yeah, if I wasn't with Ali, then when Ali broke the news to Sean that Rustam was out, Ali would now then went away and straight and said, look, what about Stevie Ray? So Sean maybe would now came to me, and he might have still, because I'm a UK fighter, but I suppose we'll never know. All I do know is that I'm signed, and I'm and it's been a huge learning experience, the whole, for the good and the bad. I'll take some positives from it as well. Like I said, I've built my new like my own little gym. I've been enjoying it. I feel like it's actually improved me as a fighter. Going over technique and showing it to other people, it's kind of made my technique a bit better. And I feel it's all just about making sure that you're still getting in your training, getting the classes covered, and making sure, like, I'm not being lazy, like I'll just train at my club tonight against the kind of more amateur guys, and then you might be being a bit lazy, and it might affect your performance. But obviously I'm getting the classes covered and making sure I'm still going through and getting training with the guys that are going to test me.
As I said earlier, no fighter wants to set out for 6 months, for a year, if they don't have to. If you're hurt, that's different. But if you're just sort of on the sidelines ready to go, you don't want to be in that position. But that in mind, another positive you might be able to take away, do you feel like this could end up being helpful in the long run, because you've been able to focus on your skills over the past 6 or 7 months, rather than constantly be preparing for an opponent in fight camp? You haven't had that since July. Do you think this will all, sort of be helpful in the long run, because you've been able to just train and work on what you do best and things like that?
Yeah, that's it. I've been able to just chill out a little bit more, improve in certain areas, and because when you're in fight camp, you're pretty much not learning a lot. You're maybe learning a little when you're just getting sharper, you're getting fit, you're getting good at you're getting better at what your game is. You're getting sharper, stronger, fitter, whatever. But it's that time in between, like you said, that you're looking at, you can play around a bit more, you can put on the gi, you can enjoy it as well, you can try new stuff, so that when you do get a fight like now, then you're getting those tools sharper. I've had longer out before. I do prefer being active, so I'd like to get 3 fights in within the next year, and start heading towards that top 15. Like I said, the Felder fight was just one of those things. Like I feel like if I fought Felder again, I didn't think that it just means that I would lose again. I believe I can beat pretty much anybody that if I've got the time to train for it. And yeah, so now I'm looking at obviously getting back to the wins, working my way back up. Felder's went and beat Oliveira, so it shows he's on a bit of a tear up now as well. He's fighting Ali Aquinta, so if he wins that, he could possibly be a top 10 in the world. And yeah, that's where I'm looking to get to as well. Get back in the win column, work my way back up to the top, and yeah, that's that.
You said you wanted to stay in the UFC. You didn't want to go to Bellator. You didn't want to take the ACB offer. You didn't want to go anywhere else but the UFC. Why is that? I mean, why did you want to stay in the UFC? Because we've seen some fighters, jump ship, go to Bellator, go to ACB. The offers seem to be out there, but why did you want to stay in the UFC?
I feel like the UFC is the best in the world. It's got the best platform. I feel it's the best fighters. So, I feel like if you're Bellator champion, you're like champion of the world. You're not really world champion. I feel like if you're a UFC champion, you're the best in the world. I suppose that's just an opinion of mine, but also just for UK and stuff as well. I didn't think the UK's even got a TV deal for Bellator, so. Yeah, wouldn't it be great for my fan base and even for me if I was with Bellator? And ACB are doing well as well, but even the guy that I was speaking to from ACB, he admitted, look, we're not a multi-billion-pound company like the UFC. So yeah, I feel like with the UFC, you've got the chance of really changing your life, and living that kind of that luxury life like McGregor and whatever else, but not even McGregor, just all the top kind of UFC fighters have got probably make a lot of money and get the chance to kind of live a bit of a luxury life.
Well, it's UFC Fight Night 127 going down March 17th in London, England. You're taking on raging Kajan Johnson in the lightweight division. Steven, thanks again for taking the time. Last question for you. How do you get the job done?
I feel like I can get the win anywhere. Kajan's a top opponent. I've trained with Kajan before at TriStar a little bit. To be fair, we've never done that much stuff together. So I feel like it doesn't really matter regardless, because there's stuff online. We both know, we both can watch footage of each other, know how we fight and stuff anyway. Yeah, I just feel like he's another opponent, another guy with different tricks. He's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, so he's going to be fairly clued up on the ground. He likes his leg locks. He runs a lot and kind of lunges in with his shots. But yeah, you know what? I'm prepared for anywhere. He might come out and want to put me on the back foot. He might run and do what he's done his last few fights, like kind of a lot of footwork and get in and hit. I'm preparing for anything. I'm looking to go into this fight and put out all my frustration that I've had the last 8 months, make a statement with the UFC. I believe if I land my hands or kicks or whatever on anybody, then I believe I can knock them out if I land. So yeah, I'm just making sure I'm training as hard as I can, and I'm going to put in 100% on fight night. If 100% is good enough, which I believe it will be, then I'll get the win. Hopefully, get a bonus as well. And if no, then you know what, I put in 100%. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, Kajan, hopefully he wants to come and bang and put on a performance as well. Fight the night, get an extra 50G.
Thanks again for the time. I appreciate it. Before I let you go, let my audience know where they can find you on social media, and if there's anybody you'd like to thank or give a shout out to, the floor is yours.
You can find me at Stephen Ray MMA for Twitter and Instagram, and I think I'm Stevie Ray UFC for my Facebook page. quick just shout out to a couple of my sponsors. Seconds Out Store in Edinburgh, Arena Gym in Kirkcaldy that I run Braveheart MMA through, ESP Physio, Pro-Gain Meals, and I've recently just signed a new sponsor with Flora Fusion, a CBD oil company. So yeah, thanks to all them, and thanks to all my friends, family, and coaches, everyone who's been there for me when I was at my lowest points. Because there's always loads of people there for you when you're at the top, but there isn't that much people there for you when you're at your lowest. So thanks to all those people as well, and obviously my manager Ali and whatever. Yeah, thanks to everyone that's supported me.